Let's turn some pages. A Guide to Success for Black Americans. Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dennis Kimbro and Napoleon Hill. Introduction, Section 2. The world is yours when you master the secret. Napoleon Hill devoted his life to sharing the philosophy of individual achievement with millions of men and women. Born in poverty, Hill carved out a distinguished writing career, became a confidant of many of the most successful leaders of the 20th century, and served as an advisor to Presidents Woodrow Wilson and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. As a novice reporter, Hill interviewed Andrew Carnegie, the multimillionaire steel magnate. During their 3-hour meeting, Carnegie shared with Hill his grand idea: to develop and organize the world's first philosophy of individual achievement based on the success principles that Carnegie had used to accumulate his vast fortune. Fast approaching the end of an illustrious career, Carnegie lamented, "It's a shame that each new generation must find the way to success by trial and error when the principles are really clear-cut." After elaborating on his beliefs, the tycoon put the question squarely to the young Quest. If you were given the opportunity to spend 20 years interviewing the most accomplished and wealthiest men and women of your day, probing their psyches thoroughly for the secrets to their success, would you undertake the venture? Without hesitation, the young journalist emphatically said, "Yes." Napoleon Hill had seized the moment. Unknown to Hill, Carnegie had allowed the reporter 60 seconds in which to make up his mind. In 29 seconds, Hill said that he would begin the job and complete it. Later, Hill learned that the great industrialist had had a stopwatch in his hand, timing his answer. Had his deliberation exceeded the allotted minute, Hill would have lost his chance. Carnegie had learned from his observation of men that those who are slow to make up their minds are equally as slow to carry out their decisions. Carnegie provided Hill with no subsidy for his effort, except to provide letters of introduction and pay his expenses while he interviewed men such as Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, John Wanamaker, F. W. Woolworth, and Alexander Graham Bell. Carnegie explained that he wished to make sure that Hill learned to apply the philosophy he was to organize, thus proving its soundness by its own accomplishments. In 1928, exactly 20 years after that fateful meeting, Hill published the highly influenced book, Laws of Success, in which he revealed all he had learned. 9 years later, Hill published Think and Grow Rich, a classic that sold more than 10 million copies, far more being a get-rich-quick manual. Think and Grow Rich distills the essence of the success system of those whom he had studied. At the book's core rests the conviction Hill absorbed from his mentor. The individual must control his deepest perception of himself, lest he be overwhelmed by the forces of negativism and defeat in those around him. In Think and Grow Rich, Hill demonstrated his genius for motivating others, which would become a hallmark of his subsequent books. Black America must discover the secret. Prior to his death in 1970, Hill wrote a manuscript specifically aimed at Black America. Unfortunately, the manuscript was never published. However, it was preserved by the foundation that it bears Hill's name and made available to me, a young, unknown Black writer. The crux of Hill's ideas are the underpinnings of his book. It is my goal to capture Hill's motivating and inspirational style as I urge potential Black achievers who possess the drive and initiative to uncover the secrets of success and follow Hill's dictum to the letter. Today, this very moment, in every part of the country, there are Black men and women, as well as members of other minority groups, who wonder what they can do to realize their goals and advance some shining ideal. You and I are no exception. We have the same opportunities that all possess, regardless of race, creed, or social class, to succeed or fail in a land of unlimited riches. Others before us have brought their desires and visions to the doorstep of reality. Whether we do so too and cross a threshold of achievement depends totally on one person, the one whom each of us sees in the mirror. Why do some men and women fail while others succeed? Why do some wallow in the mire of poverty and backwardness while others enjoy success and prosperity? Why does one man live in a loving, caring home and another drag out a meager existence in a slum? And why is one man popular and respected and another disliked and ignored? This book will help clarify your thinking as you search for answers. Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice, began several years before I came upon Hill's unpublished work on success. The underlying theme was etched into my subconscious during my many years of research while interviewing dozens of the most powerful Black men and women in America. These high achievers offered me an opportunity to serve them at close range. I saw them reveal their traits, both good and bad. I discovered and analyzed their accomplishments and setbacks, their successes and failures. During my doctoral studies at Northwestern University, I learned that some of what is believed about race and ethnicity is based on repetition rather than fact. It will be a life's work to disentangle the myths, misconceptions, and half truths that cloud the process of goal seeking as it pertains to the ethnic or Black experience in America. What is often viewed as a unique and peculiar experience turns out to be not so unique as once imagined. The great mindless idea of our image is that success is only attainable by those of the right color, right background, or class. Why does one man fail while another succeeds? This question is of tremendous concern to all mankind, especially those carving a tunnel of hope where no hope exists. Understanding Black America. Black America requires special understanding. It embraces more than 30 million men, women, and children, and is becoming increasingly younger and more concentrated in urban areas. While it shares many of the concerns so common to American society as a whole, a decent education, a worthwhile career, an opportunity to build or share in an enterprise for one's future, the rearing of a strong and healthy family, and retirement in comfort and dignity, Black America has its own special set of concerns which exert a powerful influence in determining the quality of life. For instance, there are concerns about schools that do not teach but graduate functional illiterates, about employment, homelessness, and the tens of thousands of Blacks who have never held a job, about the staggering increase of families headed by single women, about violent crimes where Blacks are both the principal victims as well as the perpetrators. But the idea of a monolithic Black America, if ever real, has become artificial since the Civil Rights Movement. While it implies a unified community that defies today's adversity, the images presented by it are both jarring and inconsistent. On one hand, as of this writing, The Cosby Show is top rated. Bryant Gumbel and Oprah Winfrey are among the most respected hosts of morning networks, news, and talk programs, and an ever growing number of Blacks have grasped the keys to power in spectacular fashion. Dr. Clifton Wharton, for instance, saw race as no burden as he assumed his rightful place to the head of the nation's largest private pension fund. General Colin Powell, who, like Hannibal and Henry Flipper, Paragons who had gone before him beat back the odds to become America's first soldier. All her life, Spelman College's Johnetta Cole had to elbow her way to the table. Now she is a Black woman marked for greatness. Show me someone content with mediocrity, she says, and I'll show you someone destined for failure. And Ron Brown, chairman of the National Democratic Party, is an agent of historic change. Throughout his life, he had to sidestep barriers constructed to defeat him. My goal, he says unapologetically, is to make it more difficult for people to say, but these men and women believed that life was meant to be more than a continuous struggle, a challenge to be met by working a little harder than was necessary, by carrying themselves one step further than what was required, and by proving, if proof was still necessary, that the actualized power of their potential was greater than any measure of racism which sought to restrain them. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the proportion of Black professionals and managers has doubled since 1960. Also, Black poverty, as officially measured by the Joint Center of Political Studies, has declined by nearly half. Blacks as a whole have moved from a position of utter destitution in terms of wealth, education, and human rights to a place alongside their ethnic counterparts, though none have had to come from so far back to join the ranks. On the other hand, however, some appalling trends still cloud these gains. Consider the following facts. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the proportion of Black children born out of wedlock in 1989 was nearly 60%. More than half of all Black children are raised in fatherless homes. 31% of Black Americans live in poverty. 45% of all Black children live in families with incomes below the poverty line. The Black employment rate is twice that of whites and Asians. For every Black earning $36,000, there are 12 Blacks living below the poverty line. The 8,000 or so Black Americans who lost their lives due to the Black on Black violence in 1989 is equal to the number of Black servicemen killed in action during the entire Vietnam conflict, according to the Atlanta Journal and Constitution. Black males particularly have edged precariously close to becoming an endangered species. More than 40% of inmates in federal and state prison are Black. There are more Black males in prison and correctional facilities than on college campuses. A Carnegie Foundation report states that the Black high school dropout rate in many urban areas exceeds 40%. In some inner cities, the rate is more than 50%. The President's National Commission for Excellence in Education reported that 44% of Black 17-year-olds are functionally illiterate. And consider the findings from a University of Chicago study as it was submitted to a government agency for public policy debate. By the year 2000, 70% of all Black men will be unemployed. 70% of all Black children will be born into a household without a male, and roughly 1/3 of all Blacks will be members of a permanent underclass. Add to this an explosion of drug abuse and swollen welfare rolls, and pretty soon the statistics become almost unmentionable. These conditions are both a waste of human potential and a drain on our national economy. Those who set social policy indulge themselves in a demagogic game of finger pointing. Liberals say conservatives won't spend enough on social programs. Conservatives reply, we've already spent too much and the programs don't work. Many argue that government is principally responsible. Though these responses possess some element of truth, they fall far short of providing real solutions. In a very real sense, the civil rights struggle envisaged by founders and millions of supporters has won some enormous battles, Blacks are no longer denied access to the judicial process of impartial hearings, speedy trials, and jury by peers. They are no longer denied access to public schools and colleges due to race, nor are they denied access to the political arena. As of this writing, Blacks now serve as chief executive officers in the largest of U.S. cities: New York, Los Angeles, Newark, Cleveland, Kansas City, New Orleans, Seattle, Baltimore, Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, as well as in the state of Virginia. On the national level, growing numbers of Black candidates add to their already impressive legions within America's political and economic structures. But life is not sociology. This was not the focus of Dr. Hill's manuscript, and it will not be given consideration here. Hill was deeply concerned with the aim of the common man. He committed the words of the great American naturalist, Henry David Thoreau, to memory. In the long run, men only hit at what they aim. Therefore, though they should fail immediately, it is best they aim at something high. The 500 or so achievers highlighted in Hill's Laws of Success represented but a small fraction of those whose personal success demonstrated the veracity of Hill's principles. As Hill asserted on numerous occasions, I have never known anyone who was inspired to use the secret who did not achieve noteworthy success in his calling. I have never known any person to distinguish himself or to accumulate riches of any consequence without possession of this secret. From these two facts, I draw the conclusion that the secret is more important, as a part of the knowledge essential for self-determination, than any which is received through what is properly known as education. It was Hill's dream that Black America would discover the infinite possibilities that are available to all who inhabit this world. It was the hope and desire that the time-tested principles that he worked so hard to uncover would be available and practiced by anyone who wished to stamp their mark on society. Hill also stressed that anyone can reach a high level of personal achievement, and through individual initiative can motivate himself or herself to greatness. It boils down to the choices one is willing to make.